What's up, everyone? Welcome into Fantasy Football Office Hours presented by Front Yard Fantasy. We are here to do nothing but answer your fantasy football questions for the next 30 to 45 minutes. However long you guys keep the questions coming, we will be in here answering them to the best of our ability within reason. So keep your questions coming. Anything, week 8 waiver wire ads, trade advice, Josh's favorite breakfast cereal, whatever you want to know, just come on in.
Honey bunches of oats.
Okay, that's your favorite?
I love honey bunches of oats. Yeah.
Did you I usually find when people have a favorite cereal like Honey Bunches of Oats, they were restricted with the cereal they were allowed to eat as children. Did you have any cereal restrictions as a child?
No, I didn't. I had no cereal restrictions as a child. I just it probably is like the mental aspect where I feel like I'm eating something semi-healthy, but I still think it's delicious. You know,
that's a fair point. That's a fair point. I go the opposite.
It's definitely
way.
My favorite.
I go.
Now, don't get me wrong. If it was late at night and I had a choice, while I'm at the grocery store, I'm choosing Honey Bunches of Oats. But if I had a choice of like Honey Bunches of Oats and
Reese's Puffs,
Reese's Puffs, I'd probably snag the Reese's Puffs. So I'd be like, but Honey Bunches of Oats is my go-to.
Reese's Puffs is my number one cereal. God, I love it so much, and I resent you for saying Reese's, but we'll get into that another day.
Reese's Puffs,
just like it's Reese's Pieces, right?
It's Reese's Pieces.
I think we've debated this before.
Yeah.
Bam said, being a Packers fan has really sucked the past 2 days. Yo, as a Browns fan with the slew of injuries, I get it, man. I feel you. It's been a rough season for injuries, and the Packers are starting to feel a little bit now with the COVID
fan
list.
Over here. I think they had the most players put on IR so far this season. But yeah, a lot of injuries around the NFL.
I'm with Simon and Bird up. We've got our first question here from JR. He said, I need to cut one, Marquez Callaway or Brandon Ayuk. Who's it going to be? For me, it's Brandon Ayuk. I think Brandon Ayuk is cuttable at this point. I would be more comfortable throwing Marquez Callaway into my lineup than I would Ayuk, and that really hurts. But we're at that point in the season where I'm not just holding on to Ayuk, fingers crossed. It's been 7 weeks, and it's been getting worse in my eyes. I'm going Marquez Callaway, or I'm dropping Brandon Ayuk, keeping Marquez Callaway. Josh, what about you?
Yeah, Simon, you're right. Until Michael Thomas comes back, I'm starting Marquez Callaway over Brandon Ayuk. I do have a little bit more hope that Ayuk at some point can break out the season. And if Devo were to get hurt, who has a riddled injury past, lots of injuries in the past for Devo Samuel. If he were to get hurt, Brandon Ayuk is going to be fantasy relevant. I need to cut one, Marquez Callaway or Brandon Ayuk. They're both cuttable. If I needed to start one this week, like I said, it's Callaway. But I think if I didn't need to start either one of these guys, it'd probably be Callaway, the guy I'm cutting. So we're kind of on a different side of the page there.
Yeah, so Josh disagreeing a little bit. He's saying if he had to start one right away, he's cutting Ayuk. But if he doesn't, it's just a bench stash. He's keeping Ayuk on his roster. Mm-hmm. And Jay coming in with this doozy of a question. We can I know we looked at this one a little bit earlier. Jay posted in our company Slack, but Nick Chubb, Amari Cooper, and Rashad Bateman for CMC, Chuba Hubbard, and James Robinson, PPR redraft, which side wins? Yeah. And Josh, I think we were on opposite sides of this. Man, but I keep going back and forth. This is one of the toughest trades I've ever had to evaluate, Jay. It comes down to like, what do you expect for CMC when he comes back? Like, is it enough? Because you're getting two. You know what? I'm switching my tune entirely. I said it earlier on the show that I expect CMC to be a top 10 back whenever he comes back. So then with that logic, you're getting 2 top 12 running backs, CMC and James Robinson on that side, plus the guy that you can start for CMC until he comes back. I got to go the CMC Hubbard Robinson side, but this is so close. Josh, what about you?
No, you broke it down pretty well. It's like Chubb versus CMC. And while you're going to be able to start Chubb this week and not CMC,
you're going to be able to Chubb this week.
But yeah, at least you get Chuba Hubbard, right? Who's not Nick Chubb, but he's a very, very startable option. I'd rather have CMC. If CMC was completely healthy, I'm taking CMC over Chubb. I'm taking James Robinson over Amari Cooper. And, I want Chuba Hubbard right now over Rashad Bateman. So, yeah, it's the CMC side for me.
We've got another interesting one in here. Jefferson and Higgins for Ridley and Deontay Johnson. Let's assume redraft. So Justin Jefferson and T. Higgins for Ridley and Deontay Johnson. Josh, which side are you going with on this one?
It's Ridley and Deontay Johnson for me.
Yep.
while Jefferson might be the most valuable wide receiver out of all these guys, he probably is. Both Ridley and Deontay Johnson are so super close, and Higgins is a tier below all these guys for me.
Yep. Ridley, Deontay Johnson, and Jefferson are similarly tiered for me rest of season, and Higgins is a tier or two below right now. So I'm going to take the side with two players in that tier instead of just one. I agree with you there. Bam says, so Tunyon, Aaron Jones, and AJ Dillon's workload rise significantly if Adams doesn't play. I mean, the ball's got to go somewhere. I am more excited to start Tunyon than I was previously. Aaron Jones, you were starting anyways. I still don't know if I'm comfortable starting AJ Dillon. Josh, what about these three players? What's your comfort level starting them with Adams out?
I mean, AJ Dillon, he's a running back. He's a backup running back that gets some work. I'm not going to feel super comfortable starting him. I'm kind of with you on that in that regard. But Tunyon, he's a very startable tight end. He's a top 10 tight end for me now this week. Aaron Jones, you weren't deciding whether you were going to start him anyway. He's a start every week. I mean, for what really benefits is I just don't know what it's going to be, Randall Cobb or Amari Rodgers in my mind. I lean Randall Cobb though.
I love Amari Rodgers, and I think he could make some noise in years to come, but we've seen it consistently with Aaron Rodgers. He likes to throw to receivers that he trusts, and that is quite often not rookie receivers, and he's got some of that rapport with Randall Cobb already. I expect it to be Randall Cobb as well, Josh. Owen wants to know, he has Travis Kelce. Is it worth trading Pitts and Sutton for Cooper Kupp? Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's crazy. That's a decent bit to give up for Cooper Kupp, but Cooper Kupp is having a historic season. Even if he regresses, he's still on track to be a regresses fairly majorly, still on track to be a top 5 wide receiver this season with a real shot at being the wide receiver 1 in fantasy. This is a slam dunk trade for me since you have Kelce. Josh, what about you?
Absolutely. Even if you don't have Kelce, I'd be willing to make that trade. But since you do have Kelce, it's an easy yes for me, actually. So Kupp is so good.
Kupp is so good.
Freaking good.
We've got another question. We'll come to you for this one first, Josh. He says, I need a good flex for this week. I have AJ Green, Noah Fant, and Zach Ertz. Which of those three would you be starting? And he did say he also has Tyler Lockett, but is very uncomfortable starting Tyler Lockett while Geno Smith is in at quarterback.
Yeah, it's going to be AJ Green for me. It's going to be AJ Green for me. He's been playing well enough. I know it was a somewhat disappointing game last week where he got 3 catches for 66 yards, but this Cardinals offense is so high powered. I just trust AJ Green more than I do Zach Ertz and Noah Fant. Yeah,
I agree with you, Josh. AJ Green in 5 of the 7 games this year, he's gotten 6 targets. I'll take that target volume. Last week he only got 3, I believe, 3 targets, 3 catches. And then in week 5, he got 2 targets, 1 catch, but 5 out of 7 weeks with at least 6 targets. I'll take AJ Green in this one as well. We got to stop agreeing so much, Josh. Maybe we can fight on this one.
It's just the right answers.
Carlos says wide receivers are as follows: Judy, Ridley, Claypool, Emmanuel Sanders, Jacoby, and Michael Thomas. My question is, who should be my consistent starts? The rest are on the trade block for a new running back. So let's pick 3 guys that you would start over the others. For me, it's the first 3. Now that Judy's back, it's Judy, Ridley, Claypool. Josh, do you have a different 3 that you would be starting?
No, they are the 3 most valuable receivers in my mind for sure. Emmanuel Sanders is fine, but he's a little bit more boomer busty for me. Jacoby Myers is kind of the opposite of Emmanuel Sanders in my mind, where he's going to get consistent catches, but he doesn't have much upside at all. And Michael Thomas, we don't even know when he's coming back. It could still be weeks out. Yeah, Judy, Ridley, and Claypool.
We agree yet again. Matt says, hey, what's up? How y'all doing today? We're doing good, Matt. Thanks for coming in and hanging with us.
Yeah.
EJ Clee wants to new trade Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders and Tony Pollard. Josh, what do you think about this one?
I feel like I have to ask your record because Chuba Hubbard is a locked and loaded starter. Miles Sanders, we don't really know how bad this injury is yet. And Tony Pollard's a backup running back that you can throw in your flex if you're really desperate. Yeah, Miles Sanders and Tony Pollard have more value on that side. But I don't want to give up Chuba Hubbard because he's going to be a starter the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I If Chuba Hubbard is a starter for you, I am not making this trade. If Chuba Hubbard's a guy that's on your bench, you don't see a path restarting, you're loaded at running back, I'll make this trade. I like the upside of having Tony Pollard on my bench in case something happens to Zeke, and then Miles Sanders should be the guy whenever he comes back.
Yeah. I'll make the trade in most instances here, unless you need wins.
Matt has a question for us. He got offered Devontae Adams for Dalvin Cook. Thoughts? So, Josh, which side of this are you taking?
Well, it's kind of similar to the last question where you got to know what your record is because Devontae Adams isn't playing this week and Dalvin Cook is playing. Do you have running backs? Do you need wide receivers? Dalvin Cook and Devontae Adams are pretty similar, but honestly, I think if we did a draft right now, Dalvin Cook would be drafted ahead of Devontae Adams. So yeah, I'll side with the Dalvin Cook ever so slightly here. Yeah,
I agree with you, Josh. But these are both super stud players. It's probably team dependent which side you're going with, but I'll take Dalvin Cook, who's playing and he's a running back. A very hard position to fill right now. He also says, off the top of your guy's head, would you have any receiver targets if I were to trade Cordarrelle Patterson? Who's fair for him? The first thing that comes to mind is maybe one of the Bucs receivers. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown. Go try to get one of those guys. I think might be a receiver you could target. Maybe CeeDee Lamb, maybe DJ Moore after a down week. Josh, what do you think here? Any names that come to mind?
Now, I do think Cordarrelle Patterson's still a trade high, but after last week, he's starting to prove it for me personally. I think he's their starting running back. He's involved in the passing game heavily. I'm not just trading him for whatever I can get at this point, but so yeah, the Bucs receivers, absolutely. I'll take the Bucs receivers for him, but maybe Calvin Ridley, if someone's giving up on Calvin Ridley right now, I don't want to sell down for him though. Maybe Michael Pittman is an interesting one there.
It's a good name to bring up, but that was a great point that you made, Josh. We're seeing a switch with how they're using Mike Davis, where they're saying, nope, it's Cordarrelle Patterson's backfield. So there's no rush to try to sell high on him in my mind. I don't think that's a window that you're going to miss. I believe we already answered this question. We said AJ Green would be our flex right here from DFig. He's just showing up on YouTube now. And then JXC wants to know, should I keep Chubb in or look for a replacement? Also, Patterson, Julio, Landry, Ertz, or Metcalf need one wide receiver and one flex. I'm keeping Chubb.
Chubb's good to go.
Yeah, if Chubb's playing, I'm playing him.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Josh, and then are we in agreement? Patterson goes in the flex without a doubt, right? And then it's just Landry, Julio, or Metcalf.
One more receiver. Yeah, it's Metcalf and Patterson for me.
Yep, I agree with you. I know Metcalf is a little bit scary with Geno out, but Julio and Landry aren't enough for me to start over him. So I'm going to go Metcalf and Patterson as well, Josh. Albert wants to know, would you start Burrow over Rodgers this week with Rodgers missing Devontae Adams?
I would.
Man, that's a tough one, but I would as well. I would also
Joe Burrow is playing the Jets.
Oh yeah, that's a good matchup for a quarterback. I'll take and the Packers are playing the Arizona Cardinals, right?
Yes.
So it's
Thursday night.
It's a tough matchup on Thursday night without his one and only pass catching weapon that he trusts. I'll take Joe Burrow. Agreed.
And I don't really know who his second weapon is really, but Lazard's going to most likely miss this game as well.
Man. Della wants to know AB, AJ Green, or Darrell Williams for flex. It's AB for me.
Yeah,
whether that's AB. Antonio Brown or AJ Brown, if it's either of those two guys, it's AB.
Yeah, it's AB.
And then who would be next for you? Would it be Darrell Williams?
Darrell Williams. Yeah,
easily. I'm in agreement right there. Carlos wants to know Cousin, Wentz, or Teddy this week. Do you have an opinion on this one, Josh?
It's Cousins. Cousins is playing the Cowboys. I expect more or less a shootout in this game. And Cousins has been playing pretty well throughout the season. I want to start Cousins this week.
I'm with you. It's between Cousins and Wentz for me, but I lean Cousins ever so slightly, so I will go Kirk Cousins as well. DFig says Noah Fant or Zach Ertz at tight end. My normal starter is Waller, but he's on bye. Josh, which one of these players would you be starting, Noah Fant or Zach Ertz?
It's crazy that this is a question so quickly. The Arizona Cardinals just traded for Zach Ertz. I do expect Zach Ertz to grow with this offense. You know, he still wasn't fully implemented in this offense last week. There was still a lot he has to learn, and there's probably going to be that case for weeks to come. I still slightly lean Noah Fant just because I trust him in this offense a little bit more. I think he's a little bit more athletic than Zach Ertz, but this is really close. I'll lean Noah Fant though.
These guys are back to back in my rankings. Like they could not get much closer between these two guys. Yeah. I think Zach Ertz has the slightly better matchup with Noah Fant going up against the Washington football team, but that Washington football team defense hasn't quite been what we thought it was going to be either. I'll still go Noah Fant here, but it is very close between the two. That's not an easy decision to make, D-Fig. You're
Noah
probably
Fant's
just
getting the targets, you know, he's getting so many targets. I'll go with Noah Fant here.
Tamian says, I have running backs Henderson, Jacobs, wide receivers Lamb, AB, AJ Brown, T. Higgins. They have Cook, Taylor, Jones, wide receivers Ridley and Johnson. He wants Jefferson, so I'm guessing that you've also got Justin Jefferson. Didn't list that there. And I want some players. Do I offer asking for more? Tip. So I'm guessing just what a fair offer would be for Justin Jefferson based on their team. I don't really. This is going to be. I don't know what he's going to offer for you because I doubt he's going to give up Dalvin Cook or Jonathan Taylor at running back, and you really don't need any of his wide receivers.
Good to like package like players together. Like am I willing to package like T. Higgins plus a lower running back 2 to get Justin Jefferson? Yes, but you don't even. I mean, I'm not trading any of these guys combined to get Jefferson. You know.
And then said I could settle for Justin Jefferson and Higgins for Ridley and Johnson. Oh, this was a question we had on the last show as well. I'm taking the Ridley and Johnson side of this. We talked about this during brackets. Justin Jefferson and T. Higgins for Calvin Ridley and Deontay Johnson. Give us the Ridley and Johnson side, I believe is what we said last time, right?
Yes, Ridley and Johnson over Justin Jefferson and Higgins for me. There
we go. Brian says, my friend just offered me Tyreek and James Robinson for Judy and Zeke. What are your opinions on Judy coming back? So let's look at this trade. James Robinson and Judy, or Tyreek and James Robinson for Judy and Zeke. Which side of this trade are you taking, Josh?
So unless it's a dynasty, this is pretty easily the Tyreek Hill and James Robinson side of this trade for me. While I like Judy. I like Judy when he comes back. I do not expect Tyreek Hill level of production at all, really. And James Robinson is close enough to Zeke to make this easily James Robinson and Tyreek Hill for me.
I completely agree. James Robinson is a top 12 back rest of season, and Tyreek Hill is a top 5 wide receiver when he's healthy and playing. So I'll take the Tyreek and James Robinson side of this. But to answer the second half of your question, I'm excited about Judy coming back. He's a clean route runner. I can't wait to see him on the field. I'm excited. And if he's on your waiver wire, if somebody's trying to get rid of him, that's a player I'm looking to acquire.
Yeah, Jared Judy's probably a top 30 wide receiver the rest of the season, in my mind.
Jay wants to know, is Judy worth the pickup from waivers for Lockett? If you can drop someone besides Lockett, Judy definitely needs to be rostered without a doubt. But man, if you've got anyone you can drop besides Lockett, I would try to go that route. Josh, what do you think here? But would you?
The same way, Simon. I don't know. Don't drop Lockett. There's got to be a worse option, right? Judy has to be owned, but if I saw Lockett sitting there on the waiver wire, I'd probably be picking him up but you don't want to start Lockett until Russ comes back, and we don't know how long that's going to be exactly. I expect Russ back in about 4 weeks. So I don't know. I want to hold on to Lockett if I can.
Oh, this one is
oh no, I can't believe we're asking this.
I know, but it's a real question because honestly, these guys are like back to back with their matchups this week and the way they're playing. Brian says, should I start Patrick Mahomes or Matthew Stafford? Brian, here's what I'm going to say. The right answer might be Matthew Stafford with his matchup against Houston. I know Patrick Mahomes is going up against the Giants. It's good matchups for both of them. The correct answer might be Matthew Stafford. I don't have the balls to bench Patrick Mahomes. I can't do it. I'm going to keep playing him, and I would hate for this to be the week Patrick Mahomes reminds us he's Patrick Mahomes and he's on my bench. That's not saying it's the correct decision. Just I mentally wouldn't be able to make that decision, and and be fine with myself if Patrick Mahomes blew up down there. Josh, what do you think?
I want to find a way we can disagree, but I'm also starting Patrick Mahomes over Matthew Stafford this week. I think this is going to be his blow up game and again, Patrick Mahomes, he had a disappointing week last week, and the Chiefs aren't winning a ton of games, but Patrick Mahomes is still lighting it up fantasy points wise outside of last week. I think they are going to want to show that this is still a high powered, great offense, that Patrick Mahomes is still the guy we all thought he was. And the week to do it is against the Giants, so I lean Patrick Mahomes over Matthew Stafford.
And on that point, we talked about it a little bit yesterday on the show. Patrick Mahomes is currently the 5th ranked quarterback in fantasy football through 7 weeks, and he's only behind Tom Brady by like 9 points, 9.5 total points scored so far this year. It's been disappointing, but he's still like an elite quarterback option for you. Dello wants to know, would you guys start Darrell Williams over Amari Cooper in the flex? I'm not. I'll start Amari Cooper.
Yeah, I feel like you have to start Amari Cooper still here, even though this is really close. It's really close in my mind, but I'll go Amari Cooper.
Yeah, it's close, but I will go Amari Cooper as well. Brian says, should I trade D-Hop for Jamar Chase? So I'm assuming this is redraft. If this was Dynasty, absolutely. If this is redraft, this is a little bit tougher. This one hurt. Brian, you're coming in asking the hard questions. All these questions that are just hurting my feelings because I love DeAndre Hopkins, but he's not getting the target volume that he has in years past. Josh, would you be willing to trade DeAndre Hopkins for Jamar Chase at this point?
Yes.
Man.
Yes. I'll do it.
Josh. Oh wait, let me put this into PPR. Okay. In a PPR league, Jamar Chase is the wide receiver blank on the season so far.
3.
He is. He's the wide receiver 3.
Only
behind Cooper Kupp and Tyreek Hill. Cooper Kupp is obviously, oh my God, Cooper Kupp is 40 points ahead of Tyreek Hill, the second best wide receiver, but Jamar Chase is right there with Tyreek Hill, only 4 points behind him. I would make this trade, Brian, but that hurts my feelings.
And the reason for it being DeAndre Hopkins, I don't think the Cardinals need or want to hyper focus on him or hyper target him in order to be successful. They're going to spread the ball around. Whoever's open is going to get the ball. DeAndre Hopkins is a touchdown threat every game. That's absolutely correct. But he's not getting the yards. He doesn't have a game with over 87 receiving yards. He had a game with 21 yards, 3 games in the 50s. Like, if the touchdowns stop, DeAndre Hopkins loses so much fantasy value. And Jamar Chase looks like the real deal. He is the real deal. He doesn't just look like it. He is.
He's my Dynasty wide receiver 1 now, number 1 overall in Dynasty. And I'm feeling more and more confident with that every day. He's just a monster. Mm-hmm. Carlos wants to know, this is more of a meta question. What's a good way to gauge a player's trade value? After my last question, I'm looking to trade away Manny Sanders and others, but I don't know where to begin on gauging their worth. Carlos, we have a good friend of the show, Alex, aka Peaked in High School on Reddit and also on Twitter. I'll try to find a link to it and throw it in the chat, but he creates really, really awesome trade value charts that track trades across tons of leagues and then measure what players are being traded for. And it directly kind of gives you a number value to start the trade talks with. Now, it's going to vary from person to person, how much they value those individual players, but it is a great place to start. I'm going to try to find that for you, and I will post a link in the chat. While I'm doing that, Josh, you want to answer Swamp's question? Is Mike Davis droppable? My other RBs are Michael Carter, Khalil Herbert, J-Rob, and JD.
I'm assuming that's JD McKissick, correct? So is Mike Davis droppable? Yes. My answer is he droppable. Is Mike Davis droppable? The answer is yes. Cordell Patterson has taken over, in my opinion, as the number 1 running back for the Falcons going forward. He's on the field much more than Mike Davis. He's getting the receptions. Mike Davis didn't even get a catch last week. He got 4 carries. But I'm seeing your other running backs. I'm seeing Michael Carter, Khalil Herbert, James Robinson, and J.D. McKissic. Out of these guys, really the only one I think you can actually rely on is James Robinson. Khalil Herbert, yes, he's a starter the next 2 weeks while David Montgomery's out. But once David Montgomery comes back, I'm pretty nervous for Khalil Herbert. I probably am not going to want to start him. Michael Carter, he might be. He's a rookie that's getting more and more work, but Zach Wilson got knocked out. It's going to be the Joe Flacco show for the next few weeks in my mind. I feel like you have to hold into Mike Davis just because your running back 2 is a pretty weak situation at the moment.
If there's a better guy on waiver wire, like, would you drop Mike Davis for Kenneth Gainwell if Gainwell's on the waiver wire? What about Brandon Bolden?
Yes,
I would too. I'd be more comfortable plugging Brandon Bolden in next week than Mike Davis. So I think Mike Davis is droppable because there's likely guys on the waiver wire you want more than him. But man, that one hurts right there. And I just posted a link in the chat for you. Carlos, that is the week 7 one. The week 8 one has not been posted yet, but that will likely be posted tomorrow. He usually posts them on Wednesdays, but Alex puts a ton of work into these, and they are really, really awesome for helping formulate trades.
It's very cool, actually.
It's so cool. So check those. Check that trade chart out. There's links to it, and then watch for next week's. If you just remember that's his username, you can click on his profile, and you'll see his trade value charts next week. Matt wants to know: would you guys start the Bengals defense versus the Jets or the Cardinals versus Green Bay this Thursday? Josh, which of these 2 defenses are you starting?
It's an easy Bengals for me. I'd rather start the Bengals against the Jets. The Bengals have looked good all year, and they looked fantastic against the Ravens last week.
And they have
Cardinals
great
defense.
Matchup.
Yes, the Cardinals defense has maybe looked like the best defense in the NFL over the course of the season, but it's really the matchup against Green Bay. And I know they're missing Devontae Adams, but I am much more nervous about the Aaron Rodgers-led Packers without Devontae Adams than the Joe Flacco-led Jets.
Yeah.
I'm doing the Bengals.
I agree.
And then also, if I remember correctly, the Jets are playing Cleveland the week after that, who it might not be a great matchup, but the Bengals are playing Cleveland the week after the Jets. So maybe you could start them 2 weeks in a row.
You shut your mouth. The Browns are going to run all over them. And I say that literally, run. They're going to run the ball a lot against the Bengals.
Try.
They'll try.
The Bengals have one of the best rush defenses in the NFL this season.
They do, but the Browns have one of the best running backs. But that is a tricky match.
Just running games, period. Yeah.
I mean, we saw it with Dearness Johnson getting plugged in. It didn't matter who was back there; it worked. D-Fig wants to know: is going to pick up Lazard? What Packers player should I try and pick up? Tunyon and Cobb, maybe.
I go Cobb. If you're trying to pick up a wide receiver, the start for the Packers, it's Cobb for me.
I agree. Carlos said Gainwell or Booker in flex. It's Gainwell for me, but it is close. They're very close.
It's Booker for me. Booker's role is more defined. I know he's going to get carries. I don't know what Gainwell's going to look like. I know he's been playing a lot.
Does the Detroit matchup entice you at all? They are terrible against backs.
It's still Booker for me. I'm not saying like. I think Gainwell has a lot more upside, but Booker just I know what I'm gonna get out of Booker.
And it's not like Booker doesn't have a good matchup. They're going up against Kansas City. So that's a good matchup for him. But I'm gonna lean Gainwell. Josh is leaning Booker. You split us, Carlos. Thank you.
There we go. We finally disagreed on something.
Jay said, would Julio Jones be a better option to drop then? I can try to throw Lockett in a trade since I have Metcalf. No, if I have to drop Julio or Lockett, I'm dropping Lockett.
Yeah.
But and also, do not apologize for all the questions. We love answering questions. That's what if we didn't want to answer questions, we wouldn't be on stream right now. That's all we're here doing.
Yeah.
And nice job on the 6-1 record.
I want to drop Lockett even less, but you need to pick up Jerry Jeudy regardless. See, I'd rather have them Lockett and Julio Jones, honestly, the rest of the season.
Also, Tamian said, I forgot to say that JJ is my wide receiver too. I have Eckler and Kamara. I don't need the trade, but I honestly just want more power. Your team is killing it. You're like collecting all the Infinity Stones one by one to win.
And just the fact that your team's so loaded, that goes back to the Justin Jefferson and getting like Ridley and Deontay Johnson thing, right? I believe this question, if I'm not mistaken. And because your team's so loaded, it almost like, I don't know if I'm going to trade Justin Jefferson, but I'm definitely willing to do it. I think the value is still on the Ridley and Deontay Johnson side.
I'm a little bit confused by this question. Guillotine League PPR, there was a 1-round draft every week. Site A, Mahomes with Lamar on bye and Wentz as my only option. B, Seals Jones with Andrews on a bye. Oh, it's two different questions.
Yeah.
It's not a
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So Mahomes with Lamar on bye and Wentz as my only option. Mahomes, are you asking which quarterback to start?
Yeah. Mahomes is still a must start for me.
Yep. Seals Jones with Andrews on a bye and Gronk questionable. So I might have to take a 0 at tight end, Khalil Herbert or James Conner. So we'll go. I mean, you can start. Or are they on bye?
Oh no! Okay.
Go ahead, Josh. What were you going to say?
Either drafting Seals Jones or Mahomes here. Actually, if I might be incorrect.
Oh,
I'm making a decision.
Gotcha.
Like, should I just roll with Wentz and not worry about Mahomes and take Seals Jones so I can have a tight end to play, or should I take Mahomes over Wentz and kind of roll with a 0 at tight end, more or less?
Yeah, that's a tricky question. I'm probably, if you can get Mahomes and Lamar on your roster but it's a guillotine league. You can get eliminated if you come in last place.
You need to have a tight end to start. Yeah.
Is there an option to pick anybody up off the waivers, or is there no
that's
waiver
my
wire?
question. It's like, is it Seals Jones or no one, or like, because Seals Jones is a good start at tight end this week, but like, can you pick up CJ Uzomah? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, that would be my question as well. If you can pick up another tight end, that's where I'm going. But I really want to start Patrick.
And
Mahomes,
I hope we're
Carson
analyzing
Wentz
this question correctly here.
No waivers, 1 round draft only each week. Okay, so he has to decide. So, Josh, if that's the case, are you taking Seals Jones?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, so Kurt Cobain came in and said, "We'll put that down. Seal Jones is risky this week." I mean, do you feel that much more comfortable with Wentz? Like, that's what I'm trying to decide. Like, what's riskier?
Yeah, can Patrick Mahomes score more points than Wentz?
Wentz is what's more, Wentz plus Ricky Seals Jones or Patrick Mahomes?
Exactly.
You know what?
Exactly.
I've talked myself into Patrick Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes greater than Wentz plus Ricky Seals Jones, and that's where I'm going. And also came in and said they are playing Denver. I don't think that Denver defense is as good as we thought it was the first 3 weeks. Whenever you look at their first 3 matchups, they've been a little bit exposed recently, but they are still an at least average defense. So I'm going to go Mahomes.
I hate this
JR
question.
came in yelling at us that I have to draft one. Mahomes, Seals, Jones, or Herbert. I'm going Mahomes.
Oh, or Herbert. Oh, yeah.
Are you going Seals, Jones, Josh?
Mm-hmm.
So Josh is going
about it.
Josh is going Seals Jones, but unhappy about it. I'm going
because
Mahomes.
You literally would take a 0 tight end if you didn't do it. So yeah, sure, yeah.
Man, that one's close. And a reminder for everyone watching: if you've never played in a guillotine league, how it works is each week the last place team gets eliminated from the league altogether, and their players are then put up for other teams to grab. It looks like the way this league does it is with a 1-round draft every week. So you can grab one player from the other person's team. So all you have to do is every week you're trying not to be last place. And it gets harder and harder each week as teams are eliminated. D-Fig says, J-Jets, is that Justin Jefferson? And Adam Thielen are my starting wide receiver. Anyone who I should try and pick up for wide receiver on waivers. There's no one on waivers that I would start over those two guys, but there are interesting wide receiver names on waivers that you could pick up. Michael Gallup.
I love Khalif Raymond. If you need a plug and play start wide receiver, he's on the field and getting a ton of targets. He's the Lions' number 1 wide receiver
over Amon-Ra.
He just is. Like, it's hard to debate it the other way at this point in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, Amon-Ra's also been getting the targets. He was matched up in the slot against Jalen Ramsey this past week, which I think is a big reason we saw Amon-Ra disappear in that game. But I think both of those Lions wide receivers are addable. I'm not too excited about either one of them. But any other wide receivers, Josh?
Well, we talked about Van Jefferson last show. He's on the field a lot, and he's an explosive offense where, Matthew Stafford throws a touchdown to him, he's probably worth a start. And then there's Rashad Bateman, but you can't play him
this week
because they're on a bye. Yeah,
Rashad Bateman's a good pickup, though. We got another question sitting on Chubb, Ernest, Mitchell, Mixon. Target D-Hop for Mixon or hold for depth? You got to hold. I don't trust Ernest Mitchell enough to trade away Joe Mixon for DeAndre Hopkins. Josh, what do you think? Are you trading away Joe Mixon on this team for DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. You kind of want to have three good running backs on. For me, I love having three good running backs. Most people don't have that luxury, but you can still throw one in the flex. Injuries happen all the time, and yeah, like Simon said, I don't know if you can trust Mitchell the rest of the season. I mean, I'm starting him until further notice, though.
Yep. Brian said someone just offered me another trade, LOL, and he's letting us know it's all redraft, by the way.
Trading makes fantasy fun.
I have Derrick Henry and Mark Andrews. He's giving me Eckler and Kelsey. So would you trade Derrick Henry and Mark Andrews for Eckler and Kelsey, Josh? I love Eckler. Don't get me wrong, but Derrick Henry is breaking fantasy football. Him and Cooper Kupp are players that are just wildly outperforming everybody else at their position this year. That's not enough for me to give up Derrick
Henry's just too good. Yeah, that's the thing. And Andrews Kelsey's awesome. Don't get me wrong, but Andrews is closing in. Now you might say that Rashad Bateman being there kind of limits Andrews going forward. I still think the separation between Derrick Henry and every other running back really is
not just Austin Eckler, any other running back. Yeet wants to know trade Sutton and Fournette for Aaron Jones. Yeah, I'll do it.
Oh, yeah. I really like Fournette the rest of the season. I'd rather have Aaron Jones. You got to be strong at wide receiver to make this move. I'll say that, but I'm willing to do it.
Yeah, I'll do it as well. Carlos, poor Sam Darnold. He said, with Sam Darnold in the state that he's in mentally, is it safe to start any Panthers?
DJ Moore.
I'm starting Chuba Hubbard and I'm starting DJ Moore.
Yeah. Outside of that, no.
That's it. Yeah, there isn't a single other player on that team I'm starting. Sam Darnold in a 2 QB league if you're desperate.
Yeah.
He's a back end quarterback 2 for the time being. Tamian said Henderson, Jacobs, Justin Jefferson, and Higgins for Taylor, Ridley, and Johnson. Who wins?
Oh my. Oh no. This is crazy. This is a crazy trade. So Darrell Henderson and Jonathan Taylor are actually pretty close in my mind.
So Justin Jefferson, Jonathan Taylor is the RB blank so far this year in PPR formats.
Probably like 6.
3. It goes Derrick Henry, DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor. And Darrell Henderson is currently the RB14. He does have one less game than Jonathan Taylor, but he's averaging 16.8 points per game to Jonathan Taylor's 18.7. So just wanted to throw that out there because I was a little bit surprised when I saw that. I thought they were much closer than that.
So let's put Henderson and Higgins for Jonathan Taylor. Let's say that's kind of similar value. And then Ridley, Justin Jefferson. You'll take Justin Jefferson, but I'll take Deontay Johnson over Josh Jacobs. This is a really fair trade. Wow. It's such a fair trade. I'm leaning Jonathan Taylor, Ridley, and Deontay Johnson.
Me too. And the tiebreaker for me is the recent usage of Jonathan Taylor for the Colts. It seems like they have figured out if they want that offense to work properly, it's going to have to run through Jonathan Taylor. And I really like seeing that. And you know what? It's working. Like they're seeing a successful offense when they're trying to run it through Jonathan Taylor. And
Hines is becoming an afterthought.
Yep. Which I did not expect going into this year, but it's a pleasant surprise for anyone who has Jonathan Taylor.
Now, don't get me wrong. I bet you there's still going to be one Hines game we see the rest of the season, but yeah, he's barely getting targets too. That's where he kind of made his fantasy value, and they just haven't been there since week 3.
Yep. Also, Kurt said, "Thanks, bro. We got you, man. Come in with any questions anytime." Yeet says, "I have Debo and Tyreek at wide receiver for the Fournette and Sutton trade for Aaron Jones." So he would be giving up Sutton, but he's still got Debo and Tyreek. That makes me even more comfortable with this trade, giving away Sutton. I would be happy with Aaron Jones there.
It's close though. It's super close. That's one of the tougher ones that I've had to answer today is Fournette and Sutton for Aaron Jones. Because I love Fournette. I didn't love him coming into the season, but he's killing it. He is the running back for one of the, if not the most high-powered offense in the NFL.
This is probably just like a mental barrier I have, but I just have such a hard time trusting that he's gonna be the guy rest of season with Bruce Arians there. But like everything we're seeing shows us that he is. Like I don't blame you for thinking that. I probably need to move past that. Also, JR,
I'm changing my mind on that trade. by the way. I
Really?
think I'm changing my mind. I don't know. I think Sutton's a force for the rest of the season, and I think Fournette is close enough to Aaron Jones.
Man, there's just such a separation between those two for me. Aaron Jones is like
There
a top
is.
5 guy.
It's a tier. It's one tier in my mind, and Aaron Jones is no longer a top 5 running back for me. By the way.
Okay, so
that's the biggest reason probably is because Aaron Jones is falling down my rankings just a little bit. He's still a top 10 running back. James Robinson or Aaron Jones?
Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I'll take Aaron Jones still, but Aaron Jones got 6 carries last week for 19 yards.
Yeah, not good. Not good at all. So you split us. Josh is taking the Fournette and Sutton side. I'm taking the Aaron Jones side.
Unless you tell me you have one more like really good receiver added on to Debo and Tyreek. I'll
if he says like a Hollywood in there as well. Are you more comfortable with this trade?
Yes, absolutely. I really am. I really am. I really would be.
Yep, makes sense. And JR, I wanted to apologize for misunderstanding the question you were asking, but we got there eventually, figured out what you're asking. And now if you have any more Guillotine League questions going forward, we will understand the rules of that league. So do not fret, unless JL comes back on, and then he's going to have no fucking clue.
Honestly, JR asked us a guillotine question before, I think when it was me and JL.
Do you think to start Kirk Cousins or Patrick Mahomes? Mahomes.
Cousins is a great start this week, but it's Mahomes.
So Andrew has an interesting question. I'm first in waivers and someone dropped Julio Jones. Should I prioritize him or Gainwell? I'm more thin on running backs than wide receivers.
Hate that he added the last sentence.
This is the common conundrum. There is Julio's the better value in a vacuum, but positional scarcity plays a major part in who you should be targeting on the waiver wires. If you are actually thin at running back, like Gainwell would be someone that you're plugging in and starting this week, I'll pick up Gainwell. But like who's the better pickup in a vacuum? It's Julio Jones. So my answer is if you need a running back to start this week, it's Gainwell. Otherwise, I'm picking up Julio Jones.
It kind of goes back to what we did our last show where we were doing brackets, comparing Gainwell versus Khalif Raymond and Van Jefferson, and Gainwell won that bracket pretty handedly because running back, a lot of teams are thin right now. Running back, I'm right there with you, Simon. I would prioritize Gainwell if I needed a starter at running back for sure.
And then Tammy says, okay, I offered the trade. I kind of want to trade for King Henry, whether or not this guy accepts. Good luck getting a trade done for Derrick Henry. You might have to completely gut your roster, but if you
teams are struggling out there, like we keep saying, thin at running back, and maybe they have Derrick Henry and no one else, and that's the way to do it.
We've got can y'all see this? Yes, we can. And if you sent messages that we didn't see, then I'm guessing you were trying to sneak something through the filter. So if you were being sneaky over there, then we didn't see it. Otherwise, I'm just kidding. But we can see those messages right there. Tom says, I'm in a 10-man league and Kenny Galladay is available. Is he worth a spot? Yeah. If you have room on your bench for a guy to wait for him to come back, Kenny Galladay is 100% worth a spot. D-Fig just got offered CMC and Kareem Hunt for Derrick Henry. Yo, that is a tough trade.
What's your record?
I'm defaulting to Derrick Henry. You know what? When it is a tough trade like this and I'm debating, I'm going to go Derrick Henry. I'm going to go with the safe option, the stud player.
You're right.
Give me Derrick. There's so many ways this can go wrong on the CMC Hunt side. The only way this can go wrong on the Henry side is if he has a season-ending injury.
I could see a world where Hunt is shut down the rest of the season. I don't think that's going to happen, but I can see that happening. And then your CMC, there's a world where he's shut down the rest of the season too.
Too much risk for a guy like Derrick Henry.
If Hunt and CMC were playing right now, I would tell you to make that trade.
Yeah, this is tricky, but I'm leaning on the other side. Tammy, this is a bit of a loaded question. Who are the top 5 wide receivers and running backs for the rest of the season?
I can answer that.
You got it, Josh. Go ahead.
Well,
we can start with wide receiver. Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp
this week, which was limited, but it's still Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill. Then it gets weird.
And it does get weird. Is Deebo Samuel a top 5 wide receiver?
Is Jamar Chase?
You know what? I think it is Jamar Chase. Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, and then I don't know.
I think I would go with Stephon Diggs. He's passed his bye, which we got to factor in a little bit. And he's been consistent as hell all season. I'll go Stephon Diggs still, even though Justin Jefferson's right there as well. And Debo, sure.
If Sam Darnold was playing any better, like even remotely better, I think DJ Moore would be my 5. But it's going to be Debo, Jefferson, or Diggs for me probably. So I'm confident in those 4. After that, it's pretty rough. Now at running back, this is a little bit more interesting. Obviously, Derrick Henry's up there. And I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara. I think DeAndre Swift. I would put him up there. I know you've had questions about that offense, but DeAndre Swift for me.
I love DeAndre Swift, man. I don't think I could put him up there yet because I think mine's pretty locked in, actually.
Okay, let's each just give our top 5 then, rest of season. You go ahead.
Yeah, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, Dalvin Cook, and that's the toughest one. And then I'm going to put Austin Eckler in there.
Man, there's so many guys from that 3 to 8 range that are so close. Man, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara for sure. Any interest in Najee Harris up there as a top 5 guy rest of the season?
Absolutely interest, but he's not slipping past any of the guys I just mentioned. And the guys I'm talking about are Austin Eckler, Dalvin Cook, and Ezekiel Elliott.
It's probably Dalvin Cook, and then for me, I think DeAndre Swift and Austin Eckler and Najee Harris are so close right there for each other, but I'll go Najee Harris. I'll say those are my top 5 rest of season, but it is so close. Carlos said Packers just activated Malik Taylor. Good streaming option, or just forget Packers wide receivers this week? I wouldn't pick up Malik Taylor to start.
I said earlier it's Cobb or bust for me. If you want to roll the dice, it's Cobb, but I don't even trust him that much. So
Tub wants to know Odell or Gaskin a better flex play?
Is a better flex play.
Really?
Odell has done nothing to show you that he can score you fantasy points.
I mean, but Gaskin did not he was not even used very well in the last week, but the week before, I just feel like it's a guessing game with him.
Yeah, but at least we are guessing for something with Gaskin. With Odell, we're just he hasn't done anything, It's an easy Gaskin for me, honestly.
Yeah,
I
agree.
I can't put Odell in my lineup right now.
Man, it's Gaskin, but I'm a little bit less bullish.
There's a comment in here that Malcolm Brown was pulling the IR, I believe.
Malcolm Brown hurt too, yeah. So that does help Gaskin a little bit. But they did just trade for Duke Johnson, right?
Yeah, apparently.
Or signed him. Jay also traded Mike Williams and Cedric Wilson for Higgins, Bateman, and 3/3 in Dynasty. What are your thoughts on this trade? I like this trade.
I like it.
Higgins and Bateman are awesome Dynasty assets, and then the picks on top of it, icing on the cake. Nice job,
I love it, J-Wall. I really do. I'd rather have Higgins and Mike Williams are very, very similar, and then Cedric Wilson's nothing. So
Carlos said, what about Marquise Brown for top 5 wide receivers, Josh?
Can't do it.
No. Top 10?
Probably not. Top 15 with Rashad Bateman and everything.
Then Coach Craig Sports says Debo top 5, even with the questions at QB. Yeah, because he's top 5 right now. Debo's, what'd you say?
I don't know if I could put Marquise Brown quite top 15. He's more like a top
18,
20.
Top 20.
I almost said 18.
Coach Craig, Debo is in consideration for that top 5 because he's had the same quarterback questions so far, and I think they've seen something from Lance. They want to keep Garoppolo in there, is my read on this situation. So I'm not super worried about it.
I think it's super easy to make the argument for top 5. He's not in my personal top 5. He's actually not in my personal top 10, but he would be 11 probably, 11 or 12.
Tubb says, does the Ernest Johnson worth a roster spot? Does he fill the Kareem Hunt role rest of season? So if I had to bet money, I would say no, but he is worth holding on to in my eyes if you can. If you have the room on your roster, hold on and see how he's used now that Chubb is back and Hunt is out. I'm not starting him this week, but that's my views on it. If you can afford that roster spot, hold on to him if you can.
Yeah, I agree with you there for sure.
DFix says D Johnson is free for pickup. My RB2 is D Williams. So I'm guessing there's a lot of Duke Johnson. Dearness Johnson. That's
Dearness.
And then Daryl Williams, I'm guessing, is that D.
I'm starting Daryl Williams easily over Dearness, but you can still pick up Dearness and just see what happens. Don't start him this week.
JL said, Simon, I don't know how I'm just noticing the board games, but I'm trying to see which ones you got. That's because I started cleaning out my board game cabinet last week and I never finished putting them back in there. So they have not always all been on display back there, J-Wall. And Timmy said, wait, is Hunt out for the rest of the season? No, he's not supposed to be. No, he's not. Sorry if we made it seem that way.
Yeah.
Tubb said, I traded Chubb, Patterson, Allen Robinson, and Judy for Thielen, Debo, and Higgins. Is that a W PPR?
It's a close trade.
It depends on your running back situation.
You gave away Chubb, who's a top 10 running back. Really.
Yeah, I was going to say Chubb and Patterson. That's tough giving both of those guys up. But if you're okay at running back without those guys, I don't mind getting those wide receivers.
The
Judy,
wide
Thielen,
receivers,
Debo, and Higgins.
It's a super upgrade at wide receiver.
Thielen, Debo, and Higgins. That's I really like that.
You need the running backs to make this move. That's for sure.
We need to see what your running backs look like in order to say whether that was a W or not, because that is heavy value for those running backs. Guys, I think that is going to be it for us today for office hours. We will be back tomorrow for the fantasy football game show. Also, we said I have Najee, Montgomery, and Herbert for the time being. Yeah, you got the running back, so you know what? I'm okay with it. I still think you maybe gave up a little bit too much for those receivers, but with the way your team is constructed, I'm cool with it. I'm totally cool with it.
Yeah. I mean, you're just saying Debo's a top 5 wide receiver, right? You know, so he's killing it. He's awesome.
He's awesome.
Debo's injury concerns scare me, if anything, more than anything.
Absolutely. Guys, that is going to be it for office hours today. A reminder, we are live every day, Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, playing games on the Fantasy Football Game Show. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we are right here, right after the game show at 4:15 Eastern time, doing nothing but answering your questions. So make sure to come in and ask us your questions and come play some games with us at 3 p.m. if you're around at that time. Thank you, JR. Appreciate it. Love it when you come in with your questions. Love you, man. And Tubb, thank you so much. So WWW, thanks for the advice. We got you, man.
And guys, hit that like button if you like what you're seeing. Yeah.
Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another one of these. Hit that subscribe button.
Yeah.
And Carlos, you are great. Much love to you as well. We will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, adios, everybody.
Trading makes fantasy fun.